The client stepped backwards off of the curb into the roadway, and at the same time, the forklift operator was operating the forklift and smashed our client, hit him in the back, knocked him to the ground, and then ran over his leg. We thought this could potentially go 50-50. I'm Fred Aranki, I'm a partner at the firm. This particular case involved a young man who was a delivery helper of soft drinks for a trucking company. He and his coworker were tasked to go to a Fairway market on the Upper West Side of Manhattan to deliver beverages that they were delivering to the store. The procedure for this particular store was the truck would pull up and the store's own forklift operator would operate the backhoe forklift into the back of the truck, load the pallet up, take it down, then cross the public sidewalk into the store. The people who were delivering it would just basically stand and wait, or they would sit in the truck and wait. Victor was a nice young man. He was, I believe, in his 20s at the time of the accident. Unmarried, no kids, but he had a girlfriend and a family who really cared for him. Liked to hang out with his friends, play soccer. He was just somebody who really was enjoying his life, trying to just work hard and provide for himself, and was looking towards a brighter future when this accident happened. On the day that this accident happened, the client's driver asked him to go up and see what the holdup was and see how long it would be before they were going to get to unload their delivery. The client went, spoke to somebody, asked him how long it was going to take. The plan was for him to walk back to the truck. For some reason, he decided to step into the roadway to walk back to the truck. And the roadway was basically designated, the supermarket took it upon themselves to basically take one whole lane of Broadway on the Upper West Side to do these unloading operations. So the client stepped backwards off of the curb into the roadway, and at the same time, the forklift operator was operating the forklift and smashed our client, hit him in the back, knocked him to the ground, and then ran over his leg. We had a badly fractured leg, which required surgery, and he also ended up getting a fusion to his lumbar spine. The injuries were pretty significant. It disabled him from work. The case was very, very hotly contested, especially from a liability standpoint and from the damages standpoint. The argument against our client was that he basically stepped backwards into the roadway, into the path of travel of the forklift, instead of looking where he was going or remaining on the sidewalk and walking up the sidewalk to his truck instead of stepping into the roadway. Scott and I went to the site several times, just basically stood there, watched the operations, watched how they did things. It was a real mess, and we used that against them. They were just stacking pallets everywhere. There were trucks lined up all the way down the street. They, most of the time, had one forklift operator who was just way overworked. He was in a hurry all the time. They didn't have an area officially cordoned off. They didn't have a spotter or a flag person to help him navigate what he had to do. The store really put him in a bad position to make him hurry and not have any help to do this. One of the things that we had done was we got an expert, basically an expert in warehouse operations and operating a forklift. He helped us and he testified at trial as to how the forklift should be properly operated, as to how the operations of the unloading area should have been operated and how they should have been more careful. They should have had a designated area. They should have had cones, flag people, just making sure that somebody in Victor's position didn't do what he did by stepping into the street, stepping into the path of the forklift. The biggest problem that we had with the liability was him stepping into the street instead of just walking up the sidewalk. We thought this could potentially go 50-50 or even a worse percentage in our favor. If people sympathized with the forklift operator saying, you know, look, he was put in a bad position. It's not his fault that Victor stepped in front of him, that kind of thing. We also had challenges on the damages part of the case because our client had a prior motor vehicle accident where he had injured his back. It wasn't a significant injury at all, but the defense had gotten the records, and everything that was complained about his back in the prior accident, they blew up into like the biggest thing in the world. The way that we rebut that is just to say, yeah, he had an accident, he recovered well from it, and he was working full time and living his life until this happened, and this significantly exacerbated any prior back condition that he had and made it that much worse to the point that he needed surgery. One of the things that Scott did a really nice job of contrasting the two accidents. Was he took all the medical records from the previous accident and put them on one side of the table. And he took the medical records from our accident and put them on the other side of the table, showed the jury, said, this is 2010 and this is 2017. This is the difference between what the treatment was and the injuries were in this accident versus this accident. Scott did a really great job cross-examining him at trial, the forklift operator, and just pointed out a lot of inconsistencies and credibility issues. We presented our case in a very straightforward way. We didn't hide from anything. Anything that was, could be conceived as negative in our favor, we brought it to the jury's attention first and told them about it and explained it. Scott has an unbelievable memory. He got up and he did his closing argument from memory. He spoke for an hour and a half almost without looking at a piece of paper. The defense attorney was the exact opposite. Very proper. He used the podium. He had like a binder with everything in it and was basically going through the binder, and it was horribly boring and dry. I just think the jury just responded so much better to the way it was presented to them by our side than the way the defense presented it to them. Our client had a Facebook page. He had posted things on his Facebook page post-accident. When people are posting on social media, they're not posting, oh, my back hurts. They're posting, oh, I went to Florida and I had a great time. There was one in particular that killed us where he was standing in the street in Manhattan, just like with a smile on his face, like, hey. And this whole case was about him walking in the street, and they have a picture of him standing in the street. So it was like, you couldn't make this up. Not only did they show the pictures to the jury, they blew them up like, giant, put them on a big easel. It's a real picture, so it's fair from that standpoint, but it only tells a very small part of the story. It's a cautionary tale that I tell every client. Don't post anything. It'll come back to haunt you later on. We obtained a verdict of approximately $3.5 million, which was reduced by 10% based on the amount of comparative fault that the jury found against our client, which reduced the verdict to $3,258,000, which was still a fantastic result for the case.